Welcome to RHI Sociable City Interviews, where we meet with global thought leaders on nightlife and the social economy. Today we are with Brian Block, Entertainment Services Manager with the City of Austin, Texas. Well, Brian, thanks again for taking the time. I imagine this is a busy period for your work that you're doing in Austin. Obviously, as a big music city, the question will be, what's the future of music in Austin? But more importantly, what's the future of how people socialize in the city of Austin? So what I want to do is just get a little bit of background of how you got to be where you are. You know, what are the foundational steps that got you to be doing this work? And we'll talk a little bit more about your role moving forward.
Great. Thanks so much for having me, Jim. I'm excited to be here. A little bit about my background. My career, 20 plus years, has been in local government and nonprofit organizations. A lot of focus on urban planning and community building and policy around just improving the city, improving quality of life, and just making the city better, more vibrant and more fulfilling for people. That's been a kind of the primary driver for me. And I've always sought roles related to that. So I've done different things in local government around neighborhoods, around parks. So then having the opportunity to take my experience in planning and policy and working with stakeholders and getting things done at the city and be able to put that in service of music and entertainment I jumped at the chance to do that. Kind of being in Austin as a young adult for the last 30 years, live music is at the center of socializing for me and has been since I've been here. So, the opportunity was one I really jumped at and have been doing for 4 years and really love doing this work and trying to just improve the city.
Yeah. So do you have any music background at all?
I have no music background except being a fan,
Okay.
going
Okay.
to shows and being part of the audience. And, not much background in hospitality. Um, for me, it's really about love of music and then urban planning, policy, community building.
So you're overlaying your kind of expertise and an understanding of how government works and how systems come together, and you're recognizing your own experience as a patron of music venues to see what can be done to make it better. So in the pre-pandemic, what did you see some of the trends around music and nightlife? You know, obviously you had and it still continues to be, more people moving to Austin. You're basically taking the talent from California in technology and moving it to Austin, Texas, and it really has a reputation of being a place where creative people want to move to and live. And so you had an influx of population. I know there are a lot of challenges with residential development downtown and also the expansion of dining and entertainment. What were some of the pre-pandemic challenges that you saw that, that may continue or that may be actually made better as you move forward?
Right, you're exactly right. Austin is known for arts and culture and creativity and tourism around music and culture and, restaurant scene. Um, that's pretty vibrant, and it's true, I think, that those things are vibrant. They're a draw. They're what makes quality of life great here. To some of the challenges that were happening that you talked about, affordability and displacement was a huge issue pre-COVID, and I think we'll talk about this as we go throughout our talk today. That was exacerbated by the pandemic, but always there and always sort of something that we know we need to deal with, and I think we'll be dealing with as we come out of the pandemic, especially downtown. There's an affordability crisis, especially for the smaller music venues, the independent nightclubs, the smaller bars. that really just can't afford to be there. And then there's the displacement happening where, condos are going in and, physically displacing the buildings where entertainment establishments are located.
So a lot of different factors that made it less affordable for the venues to operate. I'm sure for the musicians who, by the nature of their work, had a hard time making a living. And then you have the staff, the bartenders, the security, the servers, the cooks, and everybody that works in the food service aspect of it. Those were all impacted by the success of the city and the growth of the downtown in particular. Why is having those small venues important? Why do they need to be there?
Right. The small venues are really critical to the live music and music ecosystem. They're the incubator clubs where musicians and artists will start their career, and they're having live music, 4 or 5 or 6 nights a week. So it's a lower kind of bar for entry, and it's really essential that they be there. They're also independently owned, independently run. All of that kind of money stays in the community. And, they're able to be really creative with their programming, with their booking, being independent. They're creative. A lot of the local music starts and happens there. I think the same is true for bars and nightclubs. The smaller, more independently owned, the lower bar to entry, where they're building a community, either a community in their neighborhood or an identity community. They're, I think, able to be more creative about programming and booking and how they operate.
So moving forward, if we were to look like 18 months from now and look at what we call the social economy, obviously that incorporates music and dining and dancing and everything else. It's that whole kind of attraction to socialize, that social economy. Do you believe that from a policy perspective and in your role, really advocating for change, that there is now a recognition of what's been lost and that maybe there'd be more opportunity moving forward? And do you see on the horizon innovation in ways in which to help preserve some of this nightlife, these social venues, in a way that didn't exist before the pandemic occurred? Do you think there's an awareness now and a advocacy that wasn't there before, and a recognition that government has to do more to help these venues?
I think there is. I think, there's always been the recognition and even, plans put in place to make sure that the sector is sustainable and resilient. But now with the pandemic, it's exacerbated. It's really come to the front that this needs to happen. And I think we're seeing kind of some things come together where we've got affordability on one hand and displacement, and that's going to be continuing to be causing changes, whether we like it or not. And that's coming together with a longstanding desire for entertainment establishments themselves to have a more sustainable business model, to not just be open a few hours a day or only on the weekends. So we're seeing both of those things come together, I think, and kind of causing two sort of different, I think, establishments to go in maybe two different paths. One path is the really kind of cultural assets, the iconic music venues and bars and restaurants, are going to continue to, and socializing will continue to be downtown and in our entertainment areas for sure. But I think we're going to see those independent and iconic and smaller establishments stay downtown and see more support from local government, be a little bit more like a nonprofit, get more support from the community so they can keep doing what they're doing and be downtown in the center of it all. And I think we're a separate thread we're going to see is entertainment and music and nightlife more throughout the city, because they're not really sustainable downtown, being priced out of downtown. There's a kind of desire to have a more diverse business model, to, if it's a music venue, add a bar and cocktail approach. If it's a bar, add dining to it. So they're open more hours, they have more diverse revenue. And I think we're going to see that happen. And certainly there's going to be a vibrant scene downtown, but I think we'll see a move more out of downtown and into the neighborhoods and outlying
Mhm.
areas. And I think that's a good thing. That's something we've always desired.
Make it neighborhood centric. So, obviously Austin's economy is really built to a large extent around technology and that whole technology sector, which has been moving from commercial office space to working from home, that whole work from home. And while I think some companies are beginning to recognize there's a value to having a kind of a commercial office space where people can come together for those creative sessions, a lot of the work could continue to be from home and not necessarily on your traditional 9 to 5 schedule. So there are some who are seeing day life as becoming almost a form of alternative entertainment space that people could take a break from their daytime job for a couple of hours, go out to listen to a show, maybe participate in some form of daytime entertainment. Do you see that as something that's going to happen? And then, secondly, along the lines of what you suggested, that treating some of this almost as a nonprofit, we've seen in several cities. In fact, we're going to do a session at the summit on the public sector, particularly government, utilizing their space and making it available to where the overhead of a commercial space is not going to be as great, so that the city would provide not only the spaces for the entertainment, but maybe spaces for teaching and training people in sound engineering or lighting or creating events. Do you see Austin moving in that direction where you'll see more of a public sector support for the music economy and not necessarily having it solely within the private or commercial sector, which may limit itself to more of the big acts, the more high-end entertainment, whereas the smaller venues may actually be integrated into a public space format?
Absolutely. And it's already happening. And that's already a goal here in Austin, especially with city development projects where we're partnering with a private developer to develop on city land. The goal is to have arts and culture and music venues in those spaces. That's happening right now on a project that's just being negotiated right now to redevelop some city-owned land. Um, so I absolutely see that as a strategy, as part of that more nonprofit almost model or public-private model. There'll be a limited number of those spaces, but I think it will make an impact and
Mhm.
will definitely lower the overhead and make those smaller, independent, and iconic venues more sustainable long term, even as downtown land values go up and
Right.
otherwise be able to afford it. And the other thing you mentioned, a hub where kind of teaching and studio space and a performance space can all come together. That's something else Austin has been working on and has a $12 million bond dedicated to creating a space or spaces like that.
Hmm. Okay, very forward thinking as always in Austin. And obviously, you play a critical role. What do you see your role? If somebody were to create your position in their city, what would you say that position would look like?
I think there's critical roles that my position and my office plays. One is really just understanding the entertainment establishments and their business model and their operating and the regulatory kind of framework they have to deal with. And since we serve as a liaison to them and other stakeholders in the nighttime economy space, just that alone and being able to communicate to policymakers and other departments at the city and be involved and bring that perspective to policies and regulations and decision making as they change. That is a huge factor that can't be kind of overestimated.
Mhm.
Unique to our city and my role, we manage this sound management regulations. So we're kind of the lead on that. And the focus is on making sure that everything is scaled appropriately and that we build in compatibility as much as possible with the type of entertainment and where it's located. We
Mm.
try to be very customized and context sensitive. If you're out in a neighborhood area, you would have one set of criteria. If you are in a mixed use area, it would be different. And the same with a very entertainment focused downtown
Mm.
entertainment district. So being very kind of flexible as much as we can to customize it so we can have entertainment everywhere and make it fit. And I would say beyond just sound, which is an important compatibility factor that comes up everywhere. But overall, as we move out throughout the city with entertainment, I think our role is really critical in making sure the planning framework and policy is there so we can kind of make sure that it's the appropriate fit in each area really works as intended.
Well, this is great, Brian, and I think the city of Austin is lucky to have you, where you're bringing your kind of 20 years of experience in policy and planning and overlay that with the importance of music and preserving that whole entertainment sector, and especially around building neighborhoods, which is really will be the future of cities, is how people congregate together in neighborhoods and create more of that local socializing. Well, this has been a great opportunity to meet with you and to talk to you about the work that you're doing in Austin. And we look forward to monitoring, and maybe 18 months from now, we'll see if your predictions come true.
Thanks so much, Jim. It's been great to be here and chat with you.
Okay. Well, thanks again.